Welcome into another episode of They've Got Now. I'm really excited to be joined today by a Northeast United States basketball lifer, Mike Leflar from over at UMass, head coach there. Spent time over at Penn first, then to Boston, Binghamton, Northeastern, and to UMass. So, Mike, first and foremost, I mean, you have been quite literally everywhere that you can be in the Northeast. It feels like. How's everything settling in for you this summer?
Great, Mark. Yeah, I really appreciate you spending the time talking with me about UMass, about our program. And yeah, I'll be starting my 22nd year coaching at Division 1 level, and I've had a lot of great experiences. A lot of which the experiences I brought to UMass when I got out here 7 years ago, and have really been fortunate and thankful. But yes, the majority of my time has been in New England and obviously the Northeast, and really a comfort zone of mine, but a really great area for basketball and an area that I feel like I'm really connected to as well.
Yeah, no doubt. What kind of kept you in area? Because I know, like, obviously, just the life of an assistant can take you kind of all over the place, and it has. But you've gotten to kind of stay in a lot of the same region. What kind of kept you there?
I think it started with just a first great boss,
Hmm.
one at University of Pennsylvania. I was a volunteer assistant back when the Ivies, when all their third assistants were volunteers, and I know the that third spot is a paid spot now, which is great for the Ivy schools. But I was a volunteer. I was able to live at home, defer some student loans, and worked for a great woman who then got the BU job and went up to Boston with her and was really familiar with Boston, going to school right outside the city, and spent 10 great years there and had a lot of friends, and learned to love the city. And again, I think the people I've worked with really have made my experience a great one in this profession. That's why I was not afraid to stay at a place like BU for 10 years. And even a place like Northeastern, I had three really, really good years. And then UMass, fortunately came calling. I only knew this place as an opponent, but to be able to stay in the same area, again, really fortunate. Have recruiting ties, have friends, family. My wife, her parents are from outside Albany, so we've always been able to stay close and connected to family that way, and that's been really, really important on this journey as well.
No, I love that. I think that's kind of one of the things you learn more and more as you get into it. Like, it's so much of it is you keep seeing the same people over and over again, pretty much no matter where you're at. So being able to find that is pretty cool and unique to have that journey as well. And you hit on a really interesting part there in terms of talking about like not being afraid to stay at BU as long as you did. Can you kind of touch on that a little bit more? Because I think that's an interesting part that a lot of people, not even just in assistant coaching, but like any basketball job, is kind of like finding a place that you can keep learning and feel like you're growing even if you're staying at the same place.
Yeah, I mean, it's something I talk, I guess, with our players about too. Not necessarily about my experience staying at a school for 10 years, but just about, you hear the "be where your feet are." A lot of people say that. Just taking a lot of pride in where you are and the work you're doing. And one thing I think as an assistant coach I was able to do, and I think a credit to the people I worked for and worked alongside, they allowed me to be really, really invested in the program. I mean, from day one, in a way, I felt like all the programs I was at were my programs as well. So that's why it was easy for me to stay at BU for such a long time. There was such a great working environment. I had such a great working experience. I felt like I was really connected to the university. I felt like I was really invested. And again, things and themes that I use with our players now. And the next job, the grass isn't always greener. That's obviously so true. But if you're having a really, really good experience, and you feel like you're getting challenged and you have a lot of say, I learned as much at BU as I have anywhere.
Yeah, no, I love that perspective because again, like you're saying, I think so much of it is being able to feel like you have that ability to make an impact. And one of the things that talking about that comfort and being able to have kind of the ability to make that impact. Um, Obviously, like this was your first year as head coach, but you'd been at UMass for half a decade already, working alongside Tori. And I was wondering, like how do you kind of come in? Like, obviously, things change. And for reference, like I put this out today. Um, you guys returned 95% of your minutes in 2023. Do you have any idea how many minutes played you returned in 2024?
I do not. I do not
Six and a
know.
half percent of minutes played from
Yeah.
2023 was in 2024. So it was very much it's still the program, but like you definitely have a way to put your own stamp on it. So um What was that like, kind of, when you knew that that opportunity was gonna come about, and how do you kind of, go about, like, setting up something new, but also in a place that you've been for a minute?
Well, I think I go back to the beginning of my experiences at UMass. When I came out here, I didn't know Tori at all. Again, I knew UMass as an opponent at BU at Northeastern, and knew there was great resources, support, facilities. But I think when I joined the program, we were very much rebuilding. I
Mhm.
think they had come off a 7 or 8 win season or a 9 win season. But when I came out here with fresh eyes, I was like, wow, our resources, our support, the investment the university makes in our program, we can get really good really quickly. We just have to recruit the right people and show that those resources off and be really organized on the court. And we were able to do that and got really good. And played in, I think it was 3 straight Atlantic 10 championship games. We were fortunate enough to win one, which was awesome. And for me, like I know the blueprint here. There's a lot of institutional knowledge that I have. There's a lot of knowledge of just how to get from the bottom to the top, because I've done it before at other programs. I did it before here at UMass, and we'll do it again. And I think for me, putting the stamp on it is helping our players sustain that success. Helping them understand that as good as we were on the court and as we'll get to on the court individually and as a team, I really talk about them enjoying their entire UMass experience. I want them to enjoy their academic experience, their social experience, because for me, being around New England for so long, I know so many UMass alums, athletes and non-athletes, that love this place, that have a lot of pride in this place. And I want to instill that pride and help our players feel that pride during their time here. And again, is the on court piece of it a huge part? Yes, but I want them to understand all that's good here. And I think that's my real spin on this place. And this summer we were been fortunate enough to welcome back probably 7 or 8 alumni, recent alums, and then we just had 2 alums that played in 1980 and 81 come back, and to have our team listen to their stories and them talk about connection, relationships. That's what it's all about for me. I talk to our team often. I want them to always feel challenged on the court, and I want them to feel like they're getting better. And we talked about a lot this summer. But I also want them to feel connected some way to UMass. It might be teammates, coaches, friends outside of athletics. But if I feel like if we can really help them feel connected to UMass as a whole, and we can help them feel continually challenged, continually getting better on the court, we're really doing our job. And I think that's the trajectory and the path we're on.
I love that. It's kinda interesting because, like, when I went to Michigan State for my first couple of years of school, and it's like, it's interesting because when you go to a bigger state school, I think you have an idea of what it's gonna be. But then you get there, and I think in some ways it can be really small if you don't have your eyes opened up to all the things you can do. So what to you has been like key in kind of showing people like, these are the things you can get into. This is how this is what you can do. These are the ways that you can connect to UMass. Because what does that kind of look like from your perspective?
Yeah, it starts with who you recruit, and that's why this year is going to be a lot different than last year already. Because last year when I got the job, you know, it was myself and our then video coordinator and director of operations, and they were helping me. It's really me in the portal, just trying to field a team,
Yeah.
to just grab bodies. Where this year with a full staff, this first year, and with staff continuity, you know, the ability to recruit our freshmen, the kids who get out of the portal, I think they want that in the recruiting process. I talk about that a lot. So clearly they're going to gravitate towards that. So I think we have a lot of extroverts in that way that are seeking connections to campus. Certainly, when they're here, me talking about it, me giving them space to do that. Simple example, September we have Saturdays and Sundays off. We'll start early September with our workouts during the week, and then practice will start, I think, the 23rd this year. But weekends off gives them a chance to get out on campus, get to a football game. So I think I build that into the calendar as well, and I talk about them connecting socially into other parts on campus. I'm excited. Another example, we have 14 players on our roster. 5 are living off campus. We have a couple living with women's soccer players, a couple living with rowers, and then one young woman who's living with non-athletes. So I love that that diverse experience as well. You're not just always around your team, and I think that that really adds to things.
Yeah, no, absolutely. So going from there too, kind of like you mentioned, you didn't even hit on it, but like when you got the job, I think part of what was interesting about your process is like you were a little bit later in the job process in terms of getting it, and you mentioned like having to just kind of feel the team and go from there. Um, so now this is like the first year where you really get to obviously like you guys did a lot last year to put your stamp on the program, but in terms of like being able to settle in and be like, we have our staff this year, we know where we're at. Um, Obviously, I mean, I'm sure that makes a huge difference, but can you kind of quantify what kind of difference that makes in being able to feel more prepared and kind of where you want to be headed into this year?
Yeah, I mean, well, there's less or almost essentially no learning curve for me day to day in terms of what I want from our staff, what I want for our staff, and instead of us, staying and getting on the same page, maybe X's and O Y's, I can really take steps to help them feel more like they have a say on the court, off the court, help them feel like they're more invested, the way I felt as an assistant coach. So I feel like I'm able to do those things more, where we don't all have to go out as a staff on the court every single day and talk through things because we've been through that before already. So I think that's really, really nice for me. Something simple to quantify, honestly. Like when I got the job, I would go in the transfer portal and probably reach out to 20 kids each day and make phone calls or emails and get some phone calls back, and by the time, the day is over, yeah, I've talked to 5 or 6 people and gauged their interest. Like this year in the transfer portal, it was a much more maybe appropriate experience that other staffs feel. I have 3 really quality, capable, experienced assistant coaches. So, like, our navigating the transfer portal was very different. I was coming in the beginning or maybe even the middle and the end to be a part of the evaluation where they have already sifted through 20 or 30 of those names. So I feel like the pool of players we looked at was much more, it fit us much more because I had 3 really capable assistant coaches vetting and doing that work for me, where it was just me last year. So I felt that from an hours perspective for sure.
Yeah.
And it gives me time to connect more with our players on our current team, and just and do different things and represent the program.
Yeah, no, that's so interesting because I just thinking of myself, like I mean, I love sifting through the transfer portal just because I like thinking about it. I like trying to understand, like, okay, well, how does this player play? Could they really, where could they maybe translate at? And um, I mean,
It's a lot different if it's just me looking at the screen and
yeah,
trying to figure it out, and with urgency, like, "Hey, we actually have to field the team."
yeah, no,
Um,
I'm like, I mean, for me, I don't feel comfortable about a player. Like, even like, I think I feel comfortable making eval after I've watched like 5 or 6 full games. I'm like, okay, I
right.
can like have an opinion.
Yeah,
But I'm like, in terms of saying this is somebody I want to bring to my program. Okay, well, I got to call.
and
I
that's
got to
time
call people
consuming,
who've coached
it's
them. I got to
really
call people who have like who know
yeah.
them. Like that's a lot. I think again, like people can like think like, oh well, I'm just looking at this and pulling somebody out of the portal. No, that's a lot of work to put on just yourself. So yeah, in terms of having that, that totally makes a lot of sense in how that streamlines
Yeah,
things.
so I felt that, but I wouldn't, again, I waited 21 years at the time for this experience, for this opportunity. So, I really just tried to take it and run and put my head down and work. And in a lot of ways, like I said, I thought we got a lot of things right off the court. And I think, I was able to navigate that time as best as I could. And it was an emotional time because we had some players that were here that I had recruited and coached. Um, and I've been very open about it that I talked to and who left our program, when I took over.
Mhm.
And that was tough because we lost a lot of talent. So I was kind of navigating that difficult emotional stretch of 2 or 3 days, also appreciating the people who had stayed, and then obviously get to work, hire a staff, and field a team. So it was a really unique ride. And I think I did learn a lot from it. And really, again, this place is my home. I can't thank the administration enough. Like the appreciation I have for this place. As I tell our recruits, I hope, I want to be here forever. When
Yeah,
they ask, "What's next for me?" It's not this.
yeah, no, absolutely. And I mean, speaking back on that connection part, one of the things I was really excited about for you guys was being able to bring Sam Green back as a player development coach this summer. How did that kind of come about? What was the conversation like for that, and what's it been like, kind of having her back around before she goes back overseas this fall?
Yeah, actually, she just touched down in Switzerland this morning, I think. It was great. You know, I Sam and I had kept in touch so much throughout the year. I mean, she was in Finland in a totally different time zone, but she would call me every morning of game days and be like, "I'm going to try and stay up and watch the game, or I'm going to watch it on replay." You know, she was someone that obviously just became her best here. She was our best player. She was our hardest worker. She was our most vocal every single day. And in many ways, when I got the job, I felt the disappointment that someone like Sam and another teammate of hers who graduated, Destiny Philoxy, like Sam was such a great player and representative of our program. And where's the legacy? There's such a gap because she only played with a small handful of players that were on our roster
Mhm.
returning. You know, where it used to be your best players, by example, that would all trickle down to your underclassmen. We really didn't have any underclassmen. So to be able to talk to Sam and welcome her back, and Sam has a great life in Pittsburgh at home. She has great parents, a great family. But when I talked to her about the position, she's like, yes, Amherst is home. She couldn't wait to come back here. And really the conversation she and I had were like, "Hey, how best can you affect the players on our team in a short time?" You know, being at workouts with them, talking them, taking them to lunch, because all the natural ways that you expect players to rub off on underclassmen, right? We didn't have that. So I was hoping she could do that in a short period of time this summer. And I think it was really, really successful. And I was psyched that she was able to do that and just be a presence within our program.
Yeah, no, especially with, having, the summer now has become, to me at least, I think summer is busier for me than being in season with,
Yeah.
because at least there's like a concrete schedule during the season. During the summer, it's now just you just have to be everywhere at once.
Yeah.
So how did you guys kind of handle that as a staff in terms of, obviously wanting to balance recruiting, but also having, being back home for workouts and being around Amherst in general?
Yeah, I mean, we were here 6 weeks. Our players, were here July 7th to August 16th. I think what we do a majority of what we focus on in the off season in the summers is individual workout. So to have Sam go back to Sam and just have her be with our post players with their position coach and then our guard coaches working. You know, I really strive from April to October or April to mid September. I really do want to focus on player development. And that's the time where our players can become the best that they can be. And I've always operated that way as an assistant coach on staffs. And I kind of brought that model to UMass 7 years ago. And I think it does allow a person like Sam Breen to just work so much on individual skills to become her best. And we've had other players really reach high potential here at UMass and other places. So for us, a majority of what we do is individual skill development, like one player, one coach, or one player, two coaches, get a lot of shots up, work on our footwork. So that is what we dedicate summer most to. And I was also able to welcome back a woman named Chantel Alfred on our staff. Chantel, like Sam, is someone that I coached. I recruited Chantel to BU. I coached her for 4 years. She, like Sam, was a multiple year conference player of the year in the America East. So for me to have Sam and Chantel both talking to our players daily, being a part of their workouts, being examples of players that I coached and talked to every day on the court, I think that really added to our teams and our players' experience. And that's really how we handle summers and how I've typically operated, and it was a really successful one.
No, definitely. I was wondering too, just in general, like how has your philosophy on player development maybe changed up over the last couple years? Or is it something that's been pretty concrete for you? Like when you're looking at like obviously, you want I think game reps are always going to be king for finding that, but you can really do some special stuff. And I think especially when the best mid majors in the country are the ones that are able to really find that and develop their players throughout. So how has that kind of maybe changed up for you or what does that look like in general?
Well, I think in the way it's stayed a constant, maybe over the last decade even, is the time that we dedicate to it. You know, you can't be afraid, especially from the chair that I sit in, because I know the pressures of a head coach now, and that first practice, the first scrimmage, the first game, that really starts to creep up on you. But you can't let it affect your game plan for the summer. You have to give the players and coaches time to work individually. So I think the constant has been the time. that we've dedicated to it. Where it has changed is how basketball has changed, right? I think there's a real premium on shooting, passing, and dribbling, and
Hmm.
getting all of our players comfortable catching and shooting from three. Our post players as well. Helping our guards understand ball screens, dribble handoff, free screens, like a lot of different actions. So if we do anything as a group in the summer or even in the first 3 weeks of September, it will be within some actions that we're using now you know, um, where it was just you used to just space the floor and not play a little bit of ISO ball, but maybe high low, pound it inside and just space. Where now the game is so much faster. So it's helping our players understand like fast doesn't just mean athletic. Fast is decision making. Advantage, keep the advantage. So we do a lot of extra pass shooting, and again individually work a lot off of not just ball screens now, but handoffs, flare screens, ball screens into rescreens, things like that. So I think what we've worked has changed.
Yeah, no, and I love what you guys do offensively, and I'm excited to dive into that in a sec. But I liked what you hit on in terms of talking about quickness and decision making, because to me, like, I mean, every team in the country has players that have versatility, but it's can you put it to use in terms of how you see things on the court. Obviously, I think like a lot of it's you got to recruit players who see the court well and can make things happen fast. But how do you kind of work on repping out, you know, being quicker and making decisions? What does that look like for you? How do you kind of, especially considering a lot of your offense is decision making and being able to have players who can make things happen quickly?
Yeah, I mean, I think you do it slowly and teach what you want ideally in these couple situations, and then let the players play. And I think even this summer, when we have come together as a group, we've done some 3-on-3. And one of our alums who was back to watch commented, like that we didn't stop much of the 3-on-3 action. We just
Hmm.
let the players play through some things. And I think the more I can just kind of instill confidence in them and make sure they're not going to get it right every time, but we just want to trend in that direction. And if I can be a little bit hands off in that regard, great, because I don't want them always looking over their shoulder. I don't want to stop everything. So I think for us, teaching it in the individual setting, saying, Mark, hey, come off this ball screen or refuse this ball screen, pitch it back to the screener, and then come off for a handoff. If we can rep that out and get you feeling good about it individually, then we take it to a smaller group, then we take it to a competitive situation and really let that competitive situation flesh itself out. And then, in late September, mid-September, I'm sure we'll go back and watch some video. But I don't want our players to feel handcuffed or looking over their shoulder. So try and do a good job with that. And you talk about feel for the game, playing fast. That's the one thing you can't always figure out in the recruiting process.
Hmm.
You're not going to understand a player's feel all the time, or what they can handle, or how many plays their high school or AU team has. And I think there's always going to be some kind of learning curve for our freshmen and for teams for transfers, because you don't know people's histories in regards to those things. And your best players, 90% of the time are going to be the ones that also have great feel.
Yeah. No, I love that. I think that's so true, and it's so interesting because again, like I think so often when you look at things top down, just if you pull up something on Synergy and you're watching, it's so easy to look at things and be like, well, I've seen this 1,000 times.
Yeah.
Why aren't you making this play? Why aren't you doing that? But then again, like I think I always have to pull myself back because I watch so much basketball. I'm like, okay, well, you got to remember what it's like making, when you're doing an empty side handoff and something happens that you're not used to seeing, or like it just
Right.
happens so much more quickly than what you're thinking of seeing, top down. So that's a really interesting way to put it.
Yeah, and
Um,
I'm hopeful we can spend a little more time, like, on the nuance, or we already spent more time, like, on different against different coverages. Where last year with 11 new players, I was just like, trying to get people on the same page,
yeah,
and we were able to go to Croatia last August with our team, which was fantastic, and I wouldn't trade it. But most of July and August was spent trying to get everyone on the same page. Put in a couple offenses, put in a defense or two, and not worry about the nuance. Just worry about people being in the right spots.
yeah,
And this year, I feel like we're in a different place because we can talk about the things that are important, the nuance, the reads, um, and going against different defensive coverages.
No, most definitely. When in looking back at what the summer has been so far too, or I guess now that it's just about over today, it feels like the first day of fall. Um, who's maybe really popped for you? I'm sure a lot of players on the team, and if not everybody, has really made a jump this summer. But who's somebody that you're maybe most excited about for what they can do coming into this new year?
Yeah, well, I'll tell you, Steph Kaleja, who was our most consistent and probably best player last year.
Hmm.
She's been at an internship outside Philly with Pfizer all summer. So as great as we've been doing, as well as everyone's been progressing on the court, I always have to say, boy, Steph has done it for us, and she's not even with us right now. She came back for a long weekend and worked out with the team, but I'm excited because we still get to add her to the mix when we start school here in a few weeks. Ali Palmieri is someone who had transferred to us, recruited her a while ago, years ago. She committed to BC and then went to Seton Hall after that, and was on our roster last year, but sat out for transfer reasons. And she was really maybe our best guard all year last year at practice. Just think score, can score at three levels, is physical. So to see Allie, take her game to another level and then be ready to be able to play this year. I've been really, really excited about her. Chineye Odenigbo, our post player who came on really strong last year, started the last 5 or 6 games at the 5 spot, just getting more confident and more comfortable to see that happen. And really, I've seen improvement right across the board from our entire roster. Our two transfer post players, Aaliyah Sorrentino, Meg Olbrees, like they bring like instant, minutes, experience, ability. Um, that's really, really great thing for us. But I've really been impressed with everyone, including our freshmen who've come in and I feel like can are gonna, we will be better from a talent perspective than we were last year.
For sure. I loved you bringing up Shanae because, again, going back and watching some stuff from you guys this past year, that's the player who I like. I watch your roster and like that's who I'm most excited to see continue to
Yeah.
develop. Like it's pretty rare to find players with her size, athleticism that can really do things with the ball and be a positive on the court. So I'm very excited for her growth. You mentioned too, like I love picking up Megan Olbrist and Momo Claire because both players who were productive for good teams last year that I think can really make an impact for you guys this year. And find that ability to just be, I think like they were on talented rosters. There's room for them to come up and play even more minutes this season. Um, but you mentioned Aaliyah Sorrentino, who played at Lipscomb last year, and that was a player who, when I went back and I was watching through stuff, uh, on the transfers. I was like, I just see it with what you guys want to do because you guys run a lot of continuity on ball screens. I was like, she's really tight with handoffs already, knows her screening angles. Obviously, it takes time to learn that with new guards, but I mean, really great touch, 16 feet in, can roll, can cut, can make the right reads. That's somebody I watch. I'm like that. That's an immediate impact player to me in the A10, and I'm very excited about seeing her. What has it kind of been like to see, what she's been able to do and what she can bring this coming year?
I mean, it's been great. I mean, from the start, like even from the recruiting process on, her communication with me, with our staff, has been off the charts great. It's someone that is in the gym a lot. It's someone that wants to get better and wants to continue to expand her game. And again, she's should come in really, really confident because she's had 2 great years under her belt, right, at Lipscomb, scoring double figures. So for her ability around the basket, her athleticism, her size, and what we've done this summer is just help her off the dribble a little bit, help her pull up game, even face up in the post and not be afraid to put it on the floor, and then catch and shoot threes. And making sure she knows she has the freedom, ball screen, pick and pop, slip, make decisions with the ball. I agree with everything you say. Like when you look at her and you think about fit and then ability and experience, I don't want to put pressure on her and say high expectations, but I also want her to be confident because she's done it and done it really well. And I think we're just giving her a chance to expand her game. So I saw the fit in the recruiting process, and she joined us. Most of our team came in July 7th. She joined us for the first summer session. So she came to campus June 1st. So I feel like I've had a lot of time with her. Someone who's easy to develop a relationship with, and who's someone that has been on in the gym a lot. So really excited about her, and again can score it. I think you'll see you'll be able to score it at all three levels. I think having Sam Breen around helped Aaliyah a lot because Sam is someone that where Aaliyah can score it with her back to the basket. Obviously, Sam did that, but Sam was able to expand her game to the perimeter here at UMass, and I think that's what Aaliyah is in the middle of right now.
Yeah, I'm excited for that because, like, you again, in terms of talking about 3 level scores, it's like, having every player can shoot at 3 levels, but like, can you be effective and want to be guarded? And like, I think she shot like over 44, 45% on twos,
Yeah,
outside the restricted area last year. And I'm like, to me, I'm like, that's a player. I'm like, if you can just get those pops a little bit farther out, which
right.
will happen in your guys' offense, I'm very excited for that. Last thing I want to close out on too, because now you think about it, it's been a little over a year since you got hired, as a head coach. Have you been able to sit down and like really think like, this is where I'm at? Because I think when it happens, at least to so many people when I talk to, when you get the job, you don't really have time to sit back and like recognize like, hey, I'm in this spot and I've this is something I've really been working for. Um, has there been anything, maybe in the past couple months that's really re-solidified that for you that you're, like, man, I'm the head coach of UMass.
Well, I always felt very prepared, even
Yeah.
from day one, just because I do feel like the people I've worked for, who I mentioned beginning of the interview, I thought I had a lot of responsibility, a lot of say, a lot of input and investment. So I always felt very, very prepared. I think probably this spring when the season ended and we were able to slow down from an on-court perspective, but then also when the strength of our staff really kicked in terms of who we're recruiting and what we're doing in the transfer portal. Like, because that was my first experience being in this chair with a staff helping me do that. I think that's when things really slowed down, and then getting our team here, really getting them here together and meeting them as a group. And I know it's the summer and every team is 0-0, but seeing how many great personalities we have and like that positive energy that we have, that allowed me to just allowed me to step back, take a deep breath, and just say, you know what, this program is quickly becoming how I want it to be and how I want it to feel. And I think this off season has been really nice for me to see all that happen. And I think it gives you self confidence, it gives your staff confidence, and hopefully your team feels that as well.
No, 100%. Well, Mike, I'm really excited to watch you guys this coming year. The A10 was probably my favorite conference to watch last year, including any of the power conferences. Like the A10 was
Yeah.
just like
It was a
it was
strong A10.
it
I've
was
been part of
wildly
really
fun.
strong A10s and A10s where it was very top heavy, but last year was such a strong A10. And Richmond St. Joe. I mean, the teams at the top, they really deserved it and earned it. And I thought there was a lot of great individual talent and talented teams.
Yeah, and I think we're gonna see that again this year as well. And you guys are gonna be part of it. Mike, if there's anything you want to shout out before we get out of here, floor is
No, I
yours.
appreciate it, man. I in following you, I love
I
what you're
appreciate
doing,
that.
and I've just constantly learning and learning from some of the stuff. I know you and I talked off camera a little bit about all the FIBA stuff you're doing. Really enjoy it. I think the more basketball that we can see, as coaches at the collegiate level, sometimes we get in our silos and worry so much about recruiting, and we forget that there's a world out there playing basketball. I think that's where the Olympics help so much, and I talked about that with our team. We're just a small piece. We're a part of it, but we're just a small piece, and we can always learn and adapt and understand that it's a world game now. And I appreciate you shining light on that as well, along with success of the W.
Awesome. No, I appreciate that, Mike. Yeah, that's the game is good and it is global. So to everyone listening, of course, keep up with all things UMass basketball. Really exciting season ahead. And most importantly, enjoy the rest of your day. Thank you for watching.